Merry meet and welcome to our stream, everybody. This is Ariel Gatoga, and we are streaming live on YouTube and on Twitch. This is Soulful Sunday, and I'm going to do a lecture in just a few moments here. But before we get into that, I'd like to remind you that we are streaming live on YouTube and on Twitch. Moderating today on YouTube is the lovely Delene, and moderating on Twitch is the lovely Jason. Thank you so much, Delene and Jason. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there today. And I appreciate you being here. And we'll get right to it. Before we do, though, let's remind you that we do have chat threads open on both Twitch and YouTube. So if you have any questions for me, you can put them right in the chat thread. I don't have a premiere today, but I do have to get to work, so I won't be able to go over too much. But, you know, I can cut my lecture short if we have a lot of questions. That's fine, too. If I can't get to your question today, I will get to it on Wednesday. And let's see, we have a shop, and that's at arielscornershop.com, arielscornershop.com. We have all kinds of merchandise there, and it's all affiliate-oriented shopping, so that means we make a small commission off of each and every sale. We don't actually sell anything ourselves. But we do appreciate your support. Another way to do that is to give us a donation, and you can do that by going to paypal.me/Ariel Gatoga, paypal.me/Ariel Gatoga. If you happen to be on YouTube on the live stream with us, you could use a super sticker or super chat if you feel like giving a donation on the platform. And if you're watching on a restream on YouTube, you can use a super thanks. We do appreciate your support, but we just really appreciate that you're here today. You know, we have two places that you can get support as well offline, off the streams, and that's our Discord server and our Facebook group. And you can find links to both of those at the footer of every single page on my website. My website is located at ariels-corner.com, Ariel's Corner with a hyphen.com. I had a question here and I can't seem to find it. I think I sort of remember it, so I can give you the gist of it. And I hope that if you are listening that this answers your question. The basic tenor of the question was you talk about how infinite intelligence has its will for us, and its will for us is to be happy, and that all of our desires are there to be fulfilled because that's infinite intelligence's desire for us. And their point was, what if I don't want to do what infinite intelligence wants me to do? How about if I just want to do what my own thing is? And of course you can do that. That's the whole point. Most people are doing that. Most people are living in an ego world, and the whole idea of the ego is I want to do it myself. Me, 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 me. And so if you want to live a life where you're completely disconnected from your source and your soul and what you're here to do, you're always at liberty to do that. That's the whole point. And most people are doing that. So you're in a nice big crowd and nobody's telling you you can't. But for those of you who don't want to live like that, there is another way. And that way, I call it high magic, but you can call it whatever you want. And that just is an initiatory process. And you don't have to be in a formal path of initiation. Everything can be done for you. All real initiations come from spirit. But that initiation is to re-educate you into the doctrine of your own soul and what your soul wants and why your soul incarnated. And so if you do that, then things tend to work out for you in a very different way than if you are bucking the system. Because remember, the ego is all about separation, and it's usually based on cravings and lusts, impatience, annoyance, anger, grievance, those kinds of things. Whatever it can do to separate you from your good. So, of course, you don't have to follow the dictates of your soul. Of course, you don't have to do what infinite intelligence wants you to do. That's the whole point. It's all up to you. You have free will. If you didn't have free will, then you'd just be an automaton. And what would be the point in that? So you have the choice to use your mind any way you want. And if you want to build up whole systems of thought that are at odds with your natural inclinations of your soul, you can do that. And you can do that for lifetime after lifetime. You can take as long as you want. What you can't do is change your essential nature. That you can't do. You don't have the power to do that. You can't not be a soul. You cannot be beloved by the universe. And then ultimately, you will want to be happy, you will want to be peaceful, and you will make the choice to move into the will of your soul rather than the will of your ego. That will happen. It's inevitable. It's a destiny. But how your free will is not so much what you do, but how you do it and how long it takes you to do it. So have at it. Feel free to be any way you want to be. It's all good. It's all good. And nobody's telling you have to do something. That's not the way we do things around here anyway. You don't ever have to do anything. All right, let's get going here. If you are in a place where it is safe and comfortable for you, please close your eyes and begin to take some long, slow, deep, relaxing breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. With every inhale, feel more light and peace entering your body and mind. And with every exhale, feel like you're able to let go of all tension in your body, along with anything you do not want in your mind. We picture ourselves on top of a beautiful mountain, in the center of a circular grove of trees. In the center of the grove, a bonfire blazes forth, and it lights the grove and us with a sacred golden light. We recognize that this is the light of perfect love and perfect trust, and it safely, easily, and efficiently burns away everything that is not like itself, leaving us safe and serene. Into the sacred space, we invoke the presence of our Creator. To many of us, our Creator reveals themselves to be a God and Goddess, a mother and father. Into this space, we also invoke and invite the presence of our angels, our guides, our teachers. We dedicate the time that we spend together to one another and to them, and we ask that we be guided and led as we walk upon the way, becoming happier, more peaceful, more prosperous, more wise, and more loving people. Thank you very much, and if it is appropriate for you to do so out loud, please join me in saying the words, "Blessed be." We've been going through the 8 principles or qualities of the divine. And those of you who work with my 6-month angel magic course know that in lesson 6, I give some operations on how to work directly with these principles. So for these Soulful Sunday lectures, we've been taking one principle at a time and working on it. And so now we are a little bit over halfway through. And today we're going to be talking about the quality of the divine known as presence. This corresponds in our angel magic to the archangel Ariel and the planet Uranus. Now, I've been considering Uranus and Ariel as being an appropriately on sphere number 2 on the tree of life. But Ariel also represents that lightning flash that goes down the tree. And if you think about Uranus, the god, Uranus was the sky god and the god of lightning. And in the Greek mythology, Uranus was castrated by Kronos. And his genitalia fell into the ocean and gave birth to Aphrodite. And a lot of times people look at that and they think, oh, a castrated god? What? But you have to understand what that means. The castration was not so much to emasculate Uranus, but was to bring that father energy down the tree. That was the lightning flash. And the birth of Aphrodite is the sphere number 7. So that is victory. So you can think of 7 and 2 as having a very intricate relationship. We already know that 2 and 3, which is where Cronus is an easy understanding, because those have a path that are represented that go between the two. But anyway, I thought that was interesting. But we have, for our lecture today, I want to talk about the principle or the aspect of the divine known as presence. Now, in Psalm magic, this is known as the fear of God. Now, it's important when you read those ancient texts that you have to understand them as principle rather than getting too involved in some of the minutiae of the colloquialisms of the time. The fear of God doesn't mean that we're afraid of the divine. Because remember that fear and love cannot coexist, and the divine is all loving. To be in the fear of God is, if you think about what fear is on the planet Earth, what we experience as fear here, it's always got some sort of pain attached to it. There's excitement, and then there's some kind of pain, either emotional pain or fear of oncoming pain, or the desire to run away from pain or to deal with pain on some level. But the fear of God has no pain. So it's got all the excitement with none of the pain. So a better term for that would be presence. And sometimes I even say ecstasy. The ecstasy of the infinite. And that's what Ariel is a messenger of. Ariel is the messenger of the presence of the infinite. Remember, all angels are messengers. They bring messages. They are teachers. So as one of the teaching angels, Ariel's lessons have to do with the ecstasy of the infinite and the presence of it. Now, we have to understand that from a Pauline arts perspective, there is only one presence. There's only one power. There's only one source in all of the universe. There's only one. Now, that doesn't really coincide with monotheism, because monotheism usually depicts there being also just one, but it's some deity that's separate from its creations. And we know that that's not a magical perspective at all. If you think in terms of the Force in the Star Wars movies, that's a better understanding of it. Or that movie, The Craft, they had that, they called the Force Manon. You know, that was the idea of that there's only one. There's only one. And it's with all of us. We are each an extension of it. We are all one. We are all one. There is no separation. So understanding that there is only one presence and only one power, and that we can symbolize that presence and that power by that lightning bolt, that fear of God, if you will, and the Archangel Uriel, we also need to come to the understanding that the presence is perfect good and the cause of all good. Now, a lot of times when people work with Uriel, especially if Uriel is not their birth angel, things get a little bit scary. Talk about the fear of God. Sometimes things happen so quickly and so abruptly that it causes fear to come up in people, in which case then Uriel has to pull back and not have so much of that. Because remember, Uriel only exists on Uriel's own plane. And Uriel's plane is very fast, is very sudden, is very out of the blue, sometimes at the 11th hour, very unusual, very strange. And if you're not used to that, it can actually bring up fear. And angels never want to bring up fear. So sometimes when you're working with Ariel and it looks like it's going to be too much for you, Ariel is going to pull back. Ariel will pull back until you're ready for it. So one way that you can get used to that and get ready for that is by being aware of the divine presence every single day. One of the ways to do that is to sit with it, is to meditate with it, is just to be aware of the presence of the divine. As you're breathing, as you are sitting in stillness and in silence, feeling that awareness of that presence being enhanced and growing and growing and growing. You'll sometimes notice that your heart starts to beat a little faster at first before it starts to calm down, and you recognize that this presence only brings peace, only brings good. It never brings trouble. It never brings sickness. It doesn't bring accidents. It doesn't bring any kind of temptation into bad behavior. It doesn't bring death. It doesn't bring anything but pure presence, pure divinity. So all of the things that we do to ourselves as human beings, how we misuse our minds, how we misuse the earth, we misuse our bodies, we misuse everything here, is instantly corrected by the presence, which is another reason why a lot of times people shy away from working with the presence, working with Ariel, working with this idea of this quality of the infinite, because they don't want to give up all that stuff. They don't want to give up all of the things that are not in accord with the presence, because they will be vaporized immediately. But remembering that the presence only is good, the presence of good brings only good, is a very important thing, because that way we start to understand that the fear of it, the fear of God, isn't fear as much as it is ecstasy, as much as it is awe. Nothing deserves our awe except for this presence. And that doesn't mean that even Ariel deserves our awe, because Ariel's just the messenger of it. We don't worship angels. We don't worship messengers. We don't worship anybody. We don't worship things. The only thing that's worthy of our worship is the power behind it. It's the presence behind it, the one presence, the one source, the one force, the one substance. That deserves our awe. And awe-inspiring is what that presence is. And the more in awe of the presence we are, the better, because that means that we are receptive to it. And as we said earlier, the presence wants only that which is for our good. It brings only that which is for our good. And it can be very sudden. It can be in a flash, literally. It usually is. But see, we are children of this presence. We are one with this presence. The idea that this is a new feeling when we start feeling the presence is kind of silly, because it's really just a memory. It's a remembering of the truth that we have willfully forgotten, sometimes for many, many lifetimes, of who we are. We are children of this presence. We are children of the divine. We are as a royal family with all the entitlements of a royal family. And we've forgotten that. And we live our lives in poverty and in chaos. We live our lives downtrodden because we have forgotten this. And so as we practice this presence, we practice our understanding and our experience of this presence on a regular basis, it quickens us. And in a flash, we have these memories of who we really are. Sometimes these memories come through past life memories, sometimes not. Sometimes it's just literally in a flash. We see before our eyes the difference between who we are and what we've been pretending to be. And enlightenment doesn't always come in stages when you're dealing with this quality. Enlightenment sometimes comes very quickly, very suddenly, very instantly. Our existence on all levels of our being are one with this presence, whether we are willing or interested in recognizing it or not. We are always at one with this presence, but it's not being aware of the presence that causes our problems here. And as we can tune our attention and focus on the presence of the divine in every aspect of our bodies, minds, and affairs, it has a quickening effect on all aspects and all manifestations within our lives. And everything that vibrates in accord with that presence becomes more and more usable to us and more prevalent in our experience. And everything that does not vibrate in accord with that presence becomes vaporized and goes away. And that's a really beautiful thing, unless you're not ready to give up all that stuff that you don't want anymore, in which case maybe practicing this with this presence is not the best thing for you to start with. Maybe you want to put that off until you're ready for it. Because when you are working with this force, you will have results, but there is no turning back. It's very difficult to forget again once you've remembered in this life who you are. It's really hard to go back to that sort of mundaneness of living once you have flipped the switch in your mind and started to see things for what they are. And that is what this presence is interested in for you. Again, the presence brings peace. Within the presence, all is well. This is where the meek do inherit the earth, because it's through the presence of the divine that peace exists. And that's why we do have whatever we want when we are at peace, because we are at one with this awesome presence, which nothing can oppose. Nothing can come up against it. It is omnipotent. Omnipotent. And that's who you are. You, as an expression of the presence, are also omnipotent. To the degree that you are working in accord with this presence, all of your actions, all of your experiences, all of your desires, all of them are blessed with the omnipotence of the Spirit, with this presence. And like we said before, everything that's not, you've got to get ready for it to go quickly, because it's not going to hang around long. There's not a lot of lollygagging that is involved with the presence. It happens, as we said, in a flash. And that's the whole idea behind the presence, is it's a flash. When you are aware of the presence, it's impossible for you to experience fear. Remember, the only fear that you want is the fear of this presence, because it's the fear with no pain. And any other fear is then completely abolished. You're no longer afraid of people. You're no longer afraid of things. You're no longer afraid of creatures. You're no longer afraid of spirits or phantoms or demons. You're no longer afraid of circumstances. You're no longer afraid of yourself. You're no longer afraid of anything, because nothing can go up against this presence. Now, if you notice that being in this presence seems to increase your fear, look and see what you're afraid of, because I can guarantee you that what you're afraid of is that something that you think is valuable will be taken from you. The presence will not take anything of value, But very often we believe that the things in our lives which are valuable are actually things that are not good for us. And I'm sure that you've noticed that at least at points in your life where some of the things that you thought were so important, you either got them and realized that it was not good for you, or you didn't get them and you looked back and you said, oh, thank goodness I didn't get that thing. So when you are working with this presence and you notice some fear come up, look and see what you're afraid of. You're probably afraid that something is going away. And if what's going away is not good for you, it's time to celebrate. If it's good for you, it's not going anywhere, so you don't have to be afraid of it. There's no fear in the presence. The other thing that you have to recognize about this presence is that it's always available at any moment of time, at any point of space. You don't have to worry about seasons or lunar phases or anything, because it exists out of all time and space. This presence is always available. If you think about where sphere number 2 is on the tree of life, that's before any form. That's before any planet, before anything. So it's not beholden to time or space or distance. So it's always available to you, no matter what. If you can allow the peace of this presence to fill you on a daily basis, you can be guaranteed a complete and utter transformation of your life from soup to nuts, from start to finish. There's absolutely no aspect of your life that can't be transformed and won't be transformed very rapidly if you allow this presence to fill up your body, to fill up your mind, and fill up your experience on a regular basis. Now, the will of this presence is very important. The will of infinite intelligence is for you to be happy. The will of infinite intelligence is for you to be free. The will of infinite intelligence is for you to be safe. The will of infinite intelligence is for you to have all your needs met in the highest way possible. And there are so many more things that you will understand about the will of infinite intelligence as you learn to experience this presence. But remember, as you're experiencing this presence, everything happens instantly. It happens in an instant. And so you have to be willing to let things happen instantaneously for you by constantly going back again and again to this presence and allowing yourself to be healed within it. And if you do that on a regular basis, you will not recognize yourself, and nor will anyone else. And it will be in a very good way that is true. Because living in this presence is our goal. And when you can live in this presence, which you do anyway, but when you can live consciously in this presence, you are being led to a life of eternal peace and eternal safety, eternal opulence, and eternal joy. Living in the presence of the divine is the only thing that can really bring you a fulfilling life. Embracing this presence is what allows for your freedom from fear, from problems, and also leads you toward the joy of being alive and connecting with other souls and understanding your purpose here. Remembering who you are and why you're here is everything. And once you remember those things, you can't really forget them again. And nothing's going to bring you satisfaction other than accomplishing your true will here And that presence allows you to know that true will and to accomplish it very rapidly. So trusting in the eternal will through this presence is what ensures your happiness and your success on all levels. So working with invoking Ariel and that divine presence on a regular basis can be daunting at first. It can even be scary. And like I said, if you're not ready for it, you don't have to do it right away. But once you're ready to really dedicate your life to your soul's true will and nothing but that, this is the way to go. Practicing that presence every day, invoking that presence through Ariel is a very powerful way to do that. And allowing yourself to live and move within this presence at all times saves you thousands and thousands of years of evolution, because you're going right straight to the source, and then nothing really can stop you. Thank you so much for joining me today. I so appreciate you. Until next time, blessed be. Let me see if I have any questions here before we end. It does not look like it. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I hope that was interesting for you. And I will be back on Tuesday for tarot class at 9:45 a.m. Pacific. And then we'll also have our normal readings on our tarot channel at 9 and 9:15 a.m. And those are Tuesday through Sunday. And then we'll have our magic streams Wednesday through Sunday, like we do every week, at 10:15 a.m. Pacific time. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you to the amazing moderators today. We had Delene on YouTube and Jason on Twitch. And we will see you all really soon. Blessed be.